So recently, there's been yet another resurgence of Nintendo Switch 2 leaks and rumors floating around online, and I personally haven't talked about the latest round just due to the reliability of the source around it, as it had to do with some kind of random retail stock account that apparently it's a store owner in Japan. How you can verify those credentials, I don't know. Furthermore, that account went back to Twitter to update that it was just his wishful thinking, so that story unfortunately had nothing to do with Nintendo's timing or new information around their broader plans for next generation Nintendo hardware. However, in today's video, we are not talking about any random Twitter accounts or quote-unquote insiders that claim to have some kind of detailed behind-the-scenes information, but rather a direct Nintendo job posting over at Nintendo of Europe Research and Development, outlining some very interesting job requirements for what claims to be both current and future Nintendo hardware. And we have to get on the same page with exactly what's been spotted and break down what, if anything, this means when it comes to our expectations for the timeline of release and what features we may expect to be a part of the Nintendo Switch 2. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. And as mentioned, guys, today we are discussing legitimately the internet's favorite topic. No one gets upset when you bring it up. That, of course, is new Nintendo hardware talk. And I do think that, unfortunately, if you are not a fan of this topic, you will only see more and more of it just due to the timing of where we are now at in the current Nintendo Switch life cycle. Now, yes, there was a period of time that many believed, insiders and leakers and Bloomberg themselves, that Nintendo would actually be putting out a more powerful revision to the Nintendo Switch. We have numerous reports of that at some point being a planned project. Even places online like Digital Foundry claiming that they heard from contacts that once upon a time there were more powerful dev kits in the hands of developers, but that ultimately was shelved, and likely the Nintendo Switch OLED model that we know and love today was planned to be a more powerful Switch, but amongst the chip shortage and all of the different supply chain issues going on, Nintendo chose to stick to the same Tegra X1 processor that we know and love from 2015, originally in the Nvidia Shield lineup, and then sold inside of the Nintendo Switch in 2017. And prior to the OLED model's official announcement, we even had all of those crazy articles circulating online from Takahashi Mochizuki over at Bloomberg, claiming that he'd contacted and verified 11 different developers had more powerful Nintendo Switch dev kits, and so the internet was set ablaze with high expectations. And when many, including myself, watched the OLED model launch trailer, I was very surprised, and I'm sure the rest of the internet was, that it was not more powerful than the base model Switch in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that the dock does technically have a better HDMI port, which is capable of putting out 4K resolution, but it's clearly not used. Now, fast forward to where we are at today, a full 6 years completed in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, and it is now in its 7th year of sales. As of March 2023, it is naturally time for Nintendo fans to question when we might see them talk about a new console, primarily because you just don't typically see Nintendo last this long with the same hardware on the market. At least if you look at their history, 5 to 6 years is a typical life cycle for a Nintendo console, and while the Switch is technically in uncharted territories with it being the first hybrid console ever, and also with it being as successful as it is, Nintendo will at some point in time absolutely have to update the hardware that they are selling today in order to be able to effectively run third-party games and just keep up with the modern TV resolution that is now being sold in mass at 4K resolution. And they don't have to have native 4K, but you at least want to have something that can upscale to that, with that now being the majority of the TV market. And as I mentioned, while we haven't covered some of the more recent leaks circulating around on the internet, there is now, as of today, an official job posting for Nintendo of Europe Research and Development that outlines a couple very different things. And to first get on the same page with exactly what's been spotted here, let's quickly first hop over to our gaming leaks and rumors and then look at the official job post together. Nintendo job offering containing information about next generation hardware. It also mentions about cross-platform, possibly meaning that the current Switch will still be supported. Now you can first see the entire job offer at a glance here. It is a detailed document, and we will only be reading through just a couple pieces of it to give some background to this job. But at the top, of course, you see Nintendo European Research and Development, and the job offer title being Game Technologies R&D Engineer/Scientist. Now, in terms of which branch of Nintendo this is, you have the company breakdown where it reads, Nintendo European Research and Development NERD is a French subsidiary of Nintendo. We are a company of about 75 employees who share a passion for creating key software technologies and cutting-edge solutions deployed on a wide scale of homogeneous devices. Working in close collaboration with counterparts in Japan and USA, we contribute to emulation, signal processing, content generation, computer vision, machine learning, system development, optimization, and security for Nintendo Switch and other Nintendo platforms. Come discover an engaging and welcoming work environment in the heart of Paris and join our unique team in its mission to put smiles on people's faces. Now, the other and most important part of this document is the position responsibilities, which read, this is a position for engineers and researchers in the field of technologies related to game development. The goal requires to explore, define, and implement software solutions in the field of real-time rendering, high-performance implementation, low-level optimization, C++ development. The position focuses more specifically on game engine architect, cross-platform development, network programming, and interaction with large code bases. The goal will be to aim for and go beyond state-of-the-art solutions in these fields, targeting current and next-generation Nintendo platforms. It will be necessary to collaborate with game developers to bring new technologies to the market. So there's a lot to unpack with this job posting, and first off, we have to get on the same page that just because this job posting is out there does not necessarily signal that Nintendo is ready to go with the brand new next-generation Switch. Right now, at this point in time, it could very well be for something that is further off. However, I do think that the logical progression of where we are at in the timeline signals that the end of this year or early next year is a very likely time for us to at least hear about what is next for next generation Nintendo hardware, and they definitely have different projects in development ongoing for that hardware at this point in time today. Not to mention, there was a recent job post spotting potentially a Fire Emblem game tied to the Switch 2. We also have that TBA job listing that could be hinting towards Dune Awakening headed toward the Switch 2. It is naturally time to get the ball rolling with whatever kind of development tactics they need to tackle to get teams ready for this next-gen hardware at this point in time today. What is interesting about this job posting also is that a lot of people are immediately assuming that this confirms backwards compatibility for the current Switch today. I do actually believe that backwards compatibility is highly likely due to the evergreen software library that Nintendo has built up on the Switch, and I think it makes more sense for them to roll that forward and maybe even have people who are brand new to the next generation hardware go back and pick up Mario Odyssey, Zelda Skyward Sword, Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild. They may very well want to resell all of that stuff on the new console, and I think that backwards compatibility is a justified expense to throw into the console, and we've had many people online, MVG notably, stating that yeah, there will be hoops to jump through to actually get Nintendo to run Switch games on their next generation hardware. I think that they will do that, but I don't think that this job posting alone necessarily confirms it, due to the fact that we are talking about NERD here, and they are most well known for the emulation side of things, otherwise meaning NSO. They could be building out the architecture that allows Switch 1 games to be played on Switch 2 or whatever it's called, but it could very well more be focused specifically on the Nintendo Switch Online side of things, for sure rolling forward to the next gen hardware, because we more or less already have that confirmed from Nintendo themselves with that infamous account slide that shows Nintendo account value added services rolling forward into the next generation, and NSO is just that, a value added service. And we even had that Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger document reveal that Nintendo Switch Online is working for the Nintendo Switch today, and a redacted console, which is likely the next generation hardware. There's a lot of smoke with this particular fire, and I definitely think that more and more things are pointing towards Nintendo expanding their workforce, getting more employees on board with developing for the next gen hardware, and likely making it cross-compatible with the existing Switch library today. But at the very least, I do think that this job posting heavily reiterates and reconfirms more than anything else that Nintendo Switch Online will be rolling forward. And that's great news at the end of the day, because if they hit the reset button on all of the slow drip feed updates that they've given us for this service so far, and we have to wait and be left wondering around from Nintendo on whether or not we're going to see them re-add in SNES, N64, Sega Genesis, and the Game Boy family of systems, like, clearly that stuff is all going to be on the Switch 2 day one, and I'm hopeful that we won't have to wait too much longer before we can actually talk about things like GameCube and maybe even one day Wii being added into Nintendo's content library on NSO. And this is a great sign for that specifically, because Nerd is equipped to do all of the emulation heavy lifting for Nintendo. That's even where the Game Boy emulators were originally leaked out online, was from this exact branch, which is why you may remember this branch being talked about in the past. And now we have a job listing straight up referencing next generation hardware for Nintendo Switch, and specifically cross compatibility between the Switch that we have today with a future Nintendo console, whether that only be NSO or it be the full games library. I think this is a good news situation and good news update for the likelihood that we will be getting both backwards compatibility and NSO rolling forward for the new console. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, all your personal thoughts and opinions on this job listing. Do you think it means anything at all? Clearly it states new Nintendo Switch hardware, or new Nintendo hardware rather, but do you think that that is actually indicative of Nintendo really getting a ramped up team working on this thing, and that they will absolutely roll forward cross compatibility with the current library of Switch games and NSO? Or do you think this is something that maybe they're being hired today, but we still have 2 or 3 years left of the current model Switch? I definitely don't think we'll have only the base system around for that long, but I know there are some out there that think that we may have multiple years to come left with only this Switch lineup that we have today. And what do you hope we see when it comes to things like backwards compatibility and Nintendo Switch Online features on the true next generation hardware? Do you think that these are both shoe-in features and we can for sure expect them, or do you think there's a chance that Nintendo may actually hit the reset button and make us start from scratch with our game libraries that we purchased for the first Switch, and potentially even NSO resetting? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.